Hello and welcome to our first Ion Fury level design tutorial. Sorry about the fake voice, I'm not a native speaker so I have to use this instead. It's also easier to translate to other languages later on. With that out of the way, let's get started. Our level editor is going to be Mapster32, the one that is also used for Duke Nukem 3D. After starting the editor, what we are going to see is the 2D mode or top-down view. Using the A and Z keys we will be able to zoom in and out. We can also make the grid smaller or bigger, using the G or Shift-G keys. The white arrow is our camera, or player if you want. In our case it represents Shelly. If you keep the right mouse button pressed, you can drag it across the map. We also have a 3D mode, but we can't access it yet. We must create a valid space for the player to walk inside first. In order to do this, we press space anywhere on the grid. If you move the mouse around, you'll see a line is drawn wherever the cursor goes. That's the first wall of your first room. Press space to insert new points, and draw the next wall. Your room will be created when you press space at the starting point. Now we can enter 3D mode by pressing Intro from our numeric keyboard, while the arrow is inside the room. This is probably the most interesting aspect of editing. Looking at things exactly the way they are going to look in game. What you see is what you get. We can walk around the room in different ways, either by using the arrow keys to move back and forth and look to the sides, or with the Unreal Editor method. Since I have experience using the Unreal Editor, I like to use that method instead. With the first mouse button you can move back and forth. With the second mouse button you can look around. Keeping both buttons pressed allow you to move up and down. You can also strafe to the sides. First thing we are going to do is change the textures of the room to make it look prettier. We can do this by pressing V while pointing at any wall, floor or ceiling. At first we will only see one texture. This is because pressing V once only shows you the textures already in use in the map. In our case it's just this one. But if we press V one more time, we will be able to see all the textures of the game at once, sprites included. You can move the selection with the arrows or the mouse. I feel more comfortable using the keyboard here. In any case, the mouse wheel scrolls up or down. If you press page up or page down, you can skip an entire page if you know what you are looking for. There are many other options like making the tiles smaller or bigger, but I will leave these for later. We can jump directly to the first group of textures by pressing the E key. Now we have a very good collection of tiles to get started. Let's select some proper textures for the room to make it look a bit nicer. Press Enter to confirm your selection. If we aim the cursor at any surface and press the Tab key, we can copy the surface properties to the clipboard. Then we can paste these properties on any other surface. Let's copy and paste our texture using this method. Paste the clipboard on any surface with the Enter key. Our ceiling seems to be a bit low, so we are going to raise it with the page up key. We can also lower it later with the page down key as well. This is true for both ceilings, floors and sprites. Now we have to make our walls textures fit. For that, we can shrink or expand them using the arrow keys on the numeric pad. Make sure you have Numlock activated. As you can see, you can expand or contract the textures horizontally and vertically. If you press the dot key, contiguous wall textures will be aligned. There you go. Now let's move on to the floor and ceiling textures. For floor and ceilings, we cannot expand or contract the textures like we do on the walls. Instead we can have them big or small by pressing the E key. Arrows on the numeric pad are used for panning. This is a good moment to save our map, just in case something happens. Go to 2D mode by pressing Intro. Then press Escape to show the menu and press the S key to save. We can name our map anything we want. Since we are back in 2D mode, I'm going to show you how to divide rooms in different sectors and insert divisions on the walls to create different shapes. But first we are going to disable texture preview in 2D mode. We can do this by pressing the backspace key. Try to aim at any wall and press the insert key. This will add a new point. Now instead of one wall, we have two. Try to move around the new point with the first mouse button. If you enter 3D mode, you will be able to see the changes you made to the wall. Now let's go back and straighten the wall we just divided, and add another point at the opposing wall. Now we are going to divide this room. From now on we are going to refer to each divided portion as sectors. Each sector can have its own properties such as height, lighting, textures, etc. We are going to press the space key and connect the 2 points we made with a new wall. Now we have two separate sectors. If we enter 3D mode, we will be able to see that the two sectors can have different textures and heights now. We are going to create a curb and a street this way. Let's add another curb at the other side of the street. Again, by adding 2 points and connecting them with another wall. It's important to have properly aligned textures to make the level look more professional. We are going to fix the textures that are on the curbs to fit the floor tiles. I forgot to mention you can also pan the textures by keeping the left Alt key pressed, and then using the arrow keys from the numeric pad. We can also copy and paste panning and texture size properties from one wall to another. Now that we have two curbs and a street, let's add a sky, to make this an outdoor location. In order to do this, we select a sky texture for the ceiling first. But it doesn't look quite like a sky yet, right? We have to make the sky parallaxed. We do this by pointing at the sky texture and pressing P. Since our street is divided in 3 sectors, curb, street and another curb, we are going to copy and paste our sky texture on each of them. Again, we do this by copying with Tab, and then pasting with Enter. If we had made the sky and parallaxed it before dividing it into 3 sectors, no copy and pasting would have been necessary at all. Now I want the sky to be a bit further up. For this we need to raise the ceiling. But going sector by sector, one by one, can be a bit cumbersome. So let's select all sectors at once. We can do this by going to 2D mode and keeping the Alt-GR key, then we select all sectors we wish to modify. Selected sectors are now highlighted. We go back to 3D mode and raise the sky to where we want it. Remember we do this with the page up and page down keys. After you made the modifications you wanted, remember to deselect the sectors by pressing Alt-GR again in 2D mode. Now let's use our gained knowledge to create 2 corners, to make this location a bit more interesting. You can also select several points at once by keeping the left mouse button. All selected points will move at the same time. You can delete points by dragging a point on top of another, or by pressing Shift plus Delete on it. I'm not entirely sure about the wall textures, so I'm going to modify them. See if I can find something more suitable. When a texture is blue, it usually means that you can shift its palette. This means you can change the color of the blue parts of the texture. To change the palette of a wall or sprite, press Alt plus P, while you aim at the wall with your mouse cursor. We have a very wide range of palettes to choose from. Some change only the blue parts of a texture, while others change the entirety of it. There are advanced techniques that you can use with the palettes, but that will come later, in another video. We are now going to raise the ceiling a bit more. To add a bit of depth to the scene, we are going to create a tunnel on this end of the street. It's good to add new points to create trims like these. Here, we are adding 2 pillars for the tunnel, simply by inserting 2 points and changing the textures. Small details like these add a lot to the scene, and make it more believable for the player. We need this tunnel to have a rounded shape on the roof. For that we need to use slopes. First we divide the roof in 3 sectors, the one in the middle will stay as it is. The ones on the side will be sloped down, to create a rounded shape. Use the keys I'm showing you on screen, to slope up or down any ceiling or floor. You can change the slope orientation by changing the sector's first wall. Let me show you a quick example of how first walls work. This can be done, either in 3D or 2D mode. With Alt plus F, while pointing at the wall we want to be first wall. In 2D mode, if you want to see which is the first wall of any sector, press F5. This will highlight the first wall, whenever you hover the cursor over any sector. Now we are going to add shading to our level. I usually like to choose a spot and place a light source on it, even if it's just a placeholder. That way I know where the light comes from, and shade the map accordingly. For this, we are going to add our first sprite on a wall. I'm going to choose a spot to place a lamp and then I'm going to press the S key on it. This will insert a sprite on the wall. We can select different sprites the same way we select different textures, with the V key. Now we are going to shade the place, having this light source in mind. We are going to start with the walls first. We can make any surface lighter or darker with the plus and minus keys on the numeric pad. Let's darken the tunnel a bit as well. It's important to be very thorough, as any inconsistency is surely going to be picked up by the player, consciously or unconsciously. A very common way of adding shadows to the map is by dividing sectors and darkening them up. This creates fake shadows that look very good. Let's make 2 fake shadows here. Remember, if you divide a wall by adding a point to it, it's likely that the texture panning and positioning will be changed, and you are going to have to fix it. This concludes the first part of our basic level tutorial. In the description you are going to find useful links, check them out. If this video was useful to you, please subscribe and hit the bell button to receive an alert when the new video is up. See you next time.